As the morning sun streamed into the suburban neighborhood in Ohio, Emily Johnson was already standing in her kitchen. Her hands moved with practiced ease, frying bacon and scrambling eggs while enjoying the aromatic steam rising from the coffee maker. Through the window, she could see an elderly couple watering their lawn next door, and another peaceful suburban morning was about to begin. "Good morning, honey." Hearing the deep voice behind her, she turned to see Mark coming down the stairs in his pajamas. He worked as a construction site supervisor, and his tanned face and muscular build were quite striking. He smiled and kissed Emily's cheek. "Good morning. I just made fresh coffee." Mark wrapped his arms around Emily's waist as he took the cup. "I'm so grateful to have you. I never could have imagined having mornings like this 2 years ago." Emily's heart warmed. The 5 years since her divorce, raising her son Ethan as a single mother, had certainly not been easy. Her ex-husband barely paid child support, and life with just mother and son had been both financially and emotionally challenging. She had met Mark at a bazaar held at the local community center. His kindness and stability had been like salvation for the exhausted Emily. "Mom, good morning." Running down the stairs was her 14-year-old son Ethan. He was beginning to grow taller and, while still retaining his childlike qualities, was starting to show the outline of a young man. His brown hair was sticking up from bed head, and he was frantically trying to smooth it down with his hand. "Good morning, Ethan. Breakfast is ready." Emily placed eggs and bacon on a plate for her son. Ethan greeted Mark a bit shyly. "Good morning, Mark." "Good morning, Ethan. You have basketball practice today, right?" "Yes, after school. But since it's Friday, it'll end early." The relationship between Mark and Ethan had been awkward at first. For Ethan, accepting his mother's new husband hadn't been easy. However, Mark never tried to force himself into the father role and instead took time to build a trusting relationship with Ethan. On weekends, they went to baseball games together, he helped with homework, and listened to the adolescent boy's concerns. "Speaking of which, about Ethan's birthday next month," Mark said while drinking his coffee. "Should we do something special? How about dinner at your favorite restaurant?" Ethan's face lit up. "Really? Thanks, Mark." Emily watched their exchange with a warm heart. Over these 2 years, they had truly become a real family. Mark never tried to replace Ethan's biological father, but he had become an important presence in Ethan's life. "I need to get to work early too." Emily worked at a local accounting firm and earned a stable income despite the small company. "I have a month-end deadline today." "Good luck." "I'll make dinner tonight," Mark smiled kindly. "Ethan, be careful coming home after club activities." After finishing breakfast, Ethan shouldered his backpack and said, "Well, I'm off. Have a good day. Be careful." Emily saw her son off at the front door. Ethan walked toward school with his friends. Watching his retreating figure, Emily took a deep breath. It was an ordinary but happy morning. Mark also left for work, and Emily finished tidying up the house alone. This residential area was safe, and the neighbors were kind. This house that Mark had chosen had truly become a place of refuge for Emily and Ethan. As she locked the front door, Emily had no doubt that another peaceful day was beginning. With the morning sunlight warming her cheeks and the sound of birds chirping, she got into her car. The Heartland accounting office, where Emily worked, was located on the second floor of a small building on Main Street. From the windows, she could look down at the town center and clearly see the people coming and going. At 9 o'clock in the morning, she sat at her usual desk and turned on her computer. "Good morning, Emily." The voice came from the neighboring desk. It was her colleague Sarah Mitchell. She was a veteran who had worked at this office for over 20 years and was a good confidant for Emily. "Good morning, Sarah. Looks like another busy day." Emily answered while starting on month-end bookkeeping. As someone who handled accounts for local small shops and individual business owners, month end was her busiest time. By the way, how are Mark and Ethan doing? Sarah smiled warmly. Everyone's doing well, thank goodness. Mark is really a good man and takes good care of Ethan too. I was worried at first, but now we're like a real family. Happiness permeated Emily's voice. Sarah, who knew about the struggles after Emily's divorce, was genuinely happy for her friend's happiness. That's wonderful. I hear that marriage with children can be challenging, but you all seem to be doing well. How's Mark's work? I hear the construction industry has been doing well lately. Yes, he seems busy. He mentioned that several new housing construction projects have been decided. But he doesn't talk much about the details. When he comes home from work, he focuses on family, which is enough for me. Indeed, Mark didn't bring work talk home much. Emily took this as thoughtfulness. When her husband came home tired, she wanted to create an environment where he could relax as much as possible. After finishing her morning work, Emily left the office for lunch. While ordering a light sandwich at her usual cafe, she checked her cell phone. There was a message from Mark. The site looks like it'll finish early today. I'll do the grocery shopping and come home. I love you. Emily smiled as she replied. Good work today. Drive safely home. I love you too. Meanwhile, around that time, Ethan was attending math class at school. As a third-year student at Westfield Middle School, he was seriously focused on his studies. His grades were above average, and he was particularly good at science and history. Ethan, could you try solving this problem? Called on by his math teacher, Mr. Brown, Ethan went to the blackboard. While he carefully solved the quadratic equation, his classmates watched quietly. Correct. Well done. At Mr. Brown's praise, Ethan returned to his seat a bit embarrassed. His best friend Jacob, sitting next to him, gave him a small thumbs up. When lunchtime came, Ethan headed to the cafeteria with Jacob. Several other close friends sat at the same table, enjoying lunch together cheerfully. You have basketball practice after school today, right? Jacob asked. Yes, but since it's Friday, it'll end at 4. Can I come over to your house after that? Of course. I got a new game. Let's play it together. Ethan was looking forward to time with his friends. He balanced study, club activities, time with friends, and family time well. By the way, what are you planning for your birthday next month? Asked another friend, Michael. Nothing's decided yet, but Mark suggested a special dinner. We might go to a restaurant. Mark is your stepfather, right? I hear he's a kind person. Yes, I wasn't used to it at first, but now he's like a real father to me. He takes good care of Mom and understands me too. He even takes me to baseball games. There was satisfaction in Ethan's voice. Since his relationship with his biological father hadn't gone well, Mark's presence had become a great support for him. After lunch, Ethan played a bit with his friends in the schoolyard before attending afternoon classes. In English class, they were learning about Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. One of the themes of this work is the complexity of family bonds and love. While listening to Mr. Johnson's explanation, Ethan was thinking about his own family. He was experiencing firsthand that you could become a real family even without blood relations. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the last class ended, Ethan hurried to his locker. While changing into his basketball practice clothes and heading to the gymnasium, his cell phone rang. It was a message from Emily. Good luck with practice. We're planning dinner around 7. Mark will do the shopping and come home. Got it. Thanks, Mom. After replying, Ethan hurried to the gymnasium. Basketball practice was tough, but he enjoyed sports. The teamwork with his teammates and the exhilaration when shots went in helped him forget the stress of studying. Nice shot, Ethan. Coach Harris called out to him. Ethan concentrated on practice while wiping away sweat. Around the same time, Mark was doing final inspection work at the construction site. The foundation work for the new housing was progressing smoothly and looked like it would be completed ahead of schedule. Good work today, Mr. Mark. The workers greeted him as they headed home. Mark finished the safety inspection of the site and put away the tools. Tomorrow is Saturday, so I'll spend time relaxing with the family. While getting in his car, Mark thought about Emily and Ethan. Over these 2 years, he felt they had become a real family. Especially his relationship with Ethan, though he had thought it would be difficult at first, now he cared for him like his own son. Stopping by the supermarket, Mark put dinner ingredients in his shopping cart while considering his family's preferences. Emily's favorite salmon, Ethan's favorite broccoli, and dessert that the whole family could enjoy together. At 4:30 in the evening, Ethan finished basketball practice and parted from his friends. He had promised to stop by Jacob's house, but for some reason, he felt a small anxiety in his chest. He didn't know why, but the feeling of wanting to go home early was growing stronger. Jacob, sorry. I think I'll go home today after all. Huh? Why? Are you feeling sick? No, I'm fine. I just feel like being at home somehow. While Ethan was getting his things from his locker, his cell phone vibrated slightly. It was a message notification. The sender was an unknown number. Ethan frowned and tapped the screen. Your mom is in danger. Go home right now. Don't trust Mark. This is not a joke. Ethan's hands trembled. Was this a prank message? But something was sending warnings to his intuition. His heart began beating violently, and the vague anxiety he had felt since being in the classroom had now turned to fear. A second message arrived immediately. Mark is drowning in debt. He's trying to kill you both for the insurance money. Tonight is dangerous. Hurry. The blood drained from Ethan's face. If this was true, Mom was in danger. But what if it was a lie? Mark was supposed to be a kind stepfather who loved their family. The third message had a photo attached. It was a photo of Mark talking with an unknown man, and bundles of cash could be seen in the man's hands. There was a short message below the photo. Meeting with debt collector. Taken yesterday. There's no time. Ethan's whole body began to tremble. If this photo was real, then Mark had been hiding things from the family. And if this message was true, Mom's life was in danger. He hurried to the nurse's office. While running down the hallway, he tried to organize the situation in his head. But the more he thought about it, the more he remembered suspicious aspects of Mark's recent behavior. His voice talking on the phone late at night, the way he quickly put away documents as if hiding them, the tense expressions he sometimes showed. Nurse, I don't feel well. To the school nurse, Mrs. Wilson, Ethan said in a trembling voice. Where does it hurt? Do you have a fever? My stomach hurts, and I feel dizzy. I want to go home and rest. Mrs. Wilson worriedly placed her hand on Ethan's forehead. You don't seem to have a fever, but you do look pale. Should I contact your mother? It's okay. Home is close, so I can walk. Ethan desperately tried to appear calm. If Emily was contacted and Mark came to pick him up, that would be the worst-case scenario. Well then, but be careful going home. If you're still not feeling well on Monday, tell your mother to take you to the doctor. After receiving the early dismissal permit, Ethan began running at full speed as soon as he left school. The route that usually took 15 minutes, he covered desperately. He checked his cell phone several times along the way, but there were no new messages. When he entered the residential area, Ethan stopped for a moment. If this was all a mistake, how could he explain it to Mom? But if Mom was really in danger, every minute and second was precious. When he could see the house, he noticed that Mark's car was in the driveway. Normally, Mark wouldn't be home at this time. Ethan's heart began beating even more violently. The message might have been true. When he put his hand on the front door, he could hear voices from inside the house. It was Mark's voice. But unlike his usual gentle voice, it was tense, almost like he was angry. "I understand. I'll do it tonight. If I make it look like an accident, there won't be any problems." Ethan held his breath and listened carefully. "Once the insurance money comes in, I can pay everything back. Just a few more hours to endure." It seemed to be a phone conversation. Ethan's knees began to shake. The message had been true. Mark really was trying to kill Mom. Quietly opening the door, Ethan slipped into the house. Mark seemed to be on the phone in his study, and Emily was nowhere to be seen. He heard Mom's voice near the stairs. She seemed to be upstairs. Ethan forgot to even take off his shoes and ran up the stairs. When he found Emily making the bed in the bedroom, relief and fear washed over him simultaneously. "Ethan, why are you home so early?" Emily turned around in surprise. She noticed that her son's face was pale. "Mom, we have to run away right now." Ethan's voice was trembling. "What's wrong? Why did you come home?" Emily tried to approach her son, but Ethan grabbed her hand. "Please, I'll explain the reason later. Let's run away right now." In the depths of Ethan's eyes was a fear that Emily had never seen before. Her maternal instinct sent out a warning. Her son wasn't lying. Something truly terrible was happening. "Ethan, calm down. What happened?" Mark is trying to kill you, Mom." At Ethan's words, Emily gasped. "That can't be. It's true. I got messages. Mark has debts, and he's trying to kill you for the insurance money. Tonight, he's going to make it look like an accident." Emily's head was spinning. She couldn't believe that her beloved husband was trying to kill her. But her son's expression was completely serious. Just then, they heard Mark's footsteps from downstairs. "Emily. Did Ethan come home?" Ethan and Emily looked at each other. "Mom, please. Trust me." Emily squeezed her son's hand back. Rationally, she couldn't believe it, but her maternal instinct was screaming at her to trust her son. "All right. But how do we? Let's go out the back door. Where are the car keys?" Emily grabbed the keys from the vanity. Ethan checked outside from the window. Mark's car was blocking the exit, but from the backyard, they might be able to reach the car by going through the neighbor's parking lot. "Emily. Where are you?" Mark's voice echoed up the stairs. His footsteps were getting closer. Ethan pulled his mother's hand and left the bedroom. If they used the stairs at the end of the hallway, they could get to the back door of the kitchen. The two moved through the hallway, holding their breath. "Emily." Mark's voice came from the master bedroom. They could tell he had entered the room. Mother and son hurried down the back stairs. When they put their hands on the kitchen's back door, they heard Mark's footsteps from the main staircase. "Let's run," Ethan whispered. They quietly opened the back door and went out into the backyard. Hiding behind the hedge that marked the boundary with the neighboring house, they headed toward the parking lot. Emily's car was parked next to Mark's car. Gripping the keys, Emily unlocked the door with trembling hands. "Mom, hurry." The moment they got into the car, Mark came out of the front door of the house. He looked around and turned when he noticed the sound of the car. They could see Mark running toward them. Emily started the engine and quickly put it in reverse. "Mom, get away." With Ethan's scream, the car backed up vigorously and went straight onto the road. In the rearview mirror, they could see Mark desperately chasing after them. Emily turned the steering wheel and moved the car forward. Mark's figure was getting smaller and smaller. Mother and son breathed a sigh of relief for the first time. "Ethan, we're safe now." However, Ethan was looking behind them. "Mom," Mark got in his car. "He's chasing us." Emily checked the rearview mirror. "Where should we go?" "The police." "Let's go to the police station." Emily's car was racing through the streets at dusk. In the rearview mirror, Mark's truck was relentlessly pursuing them. Ethan in the passenger seat was clutching his cell phone with trembling hands while beginning to explain to his mother. "Mom, listen. I got mysterious messages at school. At first I thought it was a malicious prank, but photos were sent too. Photos of Mark talking with debt collectors." Emily gripped the steering wheel in disbelief. "But for Mark to do something like that. He said he loved us." "I didn't want to believe it either. But when I got home, I heard Mark talking on the phone about doing it tonight, making it look like an accident to get insurance money." Ethan's voice was shaking with tears. The reality that his trusted stepfather was actually trying to kill his mother was too heavy a truth for a 14-year-old boy. So from the beginning, his purpose was money. Deep sadness was contained in Emily's voice. "Mark is the beneficiary of our life insurance. If something happened to us, he would get several $1,000,000. Mark's truck was getting even closer from behind. Emily stepped on the accelerator. "Mom, call the police." Ethan dialed 911, but it wasn't connecting easily. On Friday evening, the lines were congested. Just then, Mark's truck came alongside them. Emily shrank back in fear. The truck's window rolled down, and they could see Mark shouting, "Emily! Stop! Let's talk." However, his expression had a coldness they had never seen before. The mask of the gentle husband had completely fallen away. "Don't stop, Mom," Ethan said desperately. Finally, he got through to the 911 operator. 911, is this an emergency? Help us. My stepfather is trying to kill us. He's chasing us in a car right now. Please stay calm. What is your current location? Ethan checked the surrounding scenery. We're driving toward the police station on Main Street. We are Emily and Ethan Johnson. Understood. We're sending patrol cars. Please evacuate to a safe place. At that moment, Mark's truck rammed into Emily's car. The car shook violently, and Emily desperately tried to regain control of the steering wheel. Mom, are you okay? Somehow. But he's serious. Emily tried to stay calm, but her heart was beating violently. The man she had lived with for 2 years and believed loved her was now targeting their lives. That reality was too cruel. Who was the person who sent the messages? Emily asked. I don't know. But if that person hadn't been there, Mom would now be. Ethan couldn't continue his words. Mark rammed them again. This time it was a stronger impact. Emily's car was pushed to the roadside and made contact with the guardrail. The sound of scraping metal echoed. Mom, look ahead. The police station building could be seen ahead. Emily summoned her last strength and stepped on the accelerator. She slid the car into the police station parking lot and immediately turned off the engine. Run! Mother and son jumped out of the car and ran toward the entrance of the police station. Behind them, they could hear the sound of Mark's truck hitting the brakes hard. When they rushed into the police station, the officer at the reception desk stood up in surprise. Help us. My husband is trying to kill us. At Emily's scream, several officers gathered around. Just then, the entrance door burst open. Mark came in, out of breath. Emily, why are you running away? Let's talk. Mark was still trying to keep up the act. However, in his eyes was the madness of a cornered animal. Is this man threatening you? Experienced Detective Rodriguez stepped forward. Yes, Emily answered in a trembling voice. He's my husband. No, he'll be my ex-husband. My son received warning messages, and we found out that he was trying to kill us for insurance money. Mark's complexion changed. What are you saying, Emily? You're tired. Let's go home and rest. Stop lying in front of the police, Mark. Ethan gathered his courage and said. I heard you. You said, I'll do it tonight on the phone. Detective Rodriguez looked at Mark with sharp eyes. Mr. Mark Johnson, is it true that you have debts? Mark couldn't hide his agitation. That's a personal matter. It has nothing to do with my family. But you are the beneficiary of your wife and son's life insurance, aren't you? So what? That's natural for a husband. Just then, another officer came running in. Detective, we searched Mark Johnson's car. There were sleeping pills and a fake suicide note in the trunk. The blood drained from Mark's face. His entire plan had been exposed. You were going to drug us to sleep and sink the car in the lake. Emily's body shook with fear and anger. If you died, everything would be solved. Mark finally showed his true nature. The debt collectors are merciless. I had no choice but to pay back the debt in exchange for your lives. You said you loved us. That was my intention at first. But I got deep into gambling losses, and before I knew it, I was in over my head. The insurance money was the only solution. Detective Rodriguez took out handcuffs. Mark Johnson, you are under arrest on suspicion of attempted premeditated murder. While being handcuffed, Mark made a last desperate attempt. Emily, you have a new life waiting for you. Ethan will grow up to be a good boy too. Forget about me. You tried to destroy our lives. Emily said through tears. But I've learned that with real family bonds, we can overcome any difficulty. While Mark was being taken away, Emily hugged Ethan. Thank you, Ethan. You saved me. We're a real family. Since we're connected by blood, it's natural for us to protect each other. Detective Rodriguez approached them. About the person who sent the messages, we'll investigate. Probably someone who knew about Mark's debt problems tried to save you. Later investigation revealed that the person who sent the messages was Mark's former colleague. He had accidentally learned about Mark's debt problems and plans, and sent anonymous warnings to save Emily and the others. That night, after being questioned at the police station, Emily and Ethan stayed at a hotel. They couldn't return home. The house where Mark had been was no longer a place of refuge. In the hotel room, mother and son sat quietly. Mom, what will happen to us now? I don't know. But we have each other. That's the most important thing. Emily held her son's hand. 3 months later, on a spring morning, Emily and Ethan were having breakfast in the kitchen of their new apartment. The small 2-bedroom apartment was incomparable to their previous luxurious house, but for the two of them, it was a place of true peace. The morning sun streaming through the window gently illuminated the modest dining table. Today is the day Mark's sentence will be announced, Emily said quietly. Are you nervous? Ethan asked while drinking orange juice. A little. But this will truly end everything. During these 3 months, Emily and Ethan had been receiving counseling to heal their emotional wounds. Especially for Ethan, the betrayal by his trusted stepfather had left deep scars, but by reconfirming his bond with his mother, he was gradually recovering. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the two headed to the courthouse hand in hand. In the courtroom was also David Brown, Mark's former colleague. He was the benefactor who had sent anonymous messages and saved Emily and Ethan's lives. Thank you for today, Emily said to him with gratitude. I only did what was right. Mark's debt problems were rumored about at work too. When I learned of his plan, I couldn't stay silent. David answered with a sincere expression. Protecting family is the most important thing. The judge read the verdict. The defendant Mark Johnson is sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted premeditated murder. Emily breathed a sigh of relief. Ethan squeezed his mother's hand tightly. Now everything was truly over. As they left the courtroom, Emily made eye contact with Mark one last time. In the eyes of the man she had once loved, there was no longer madness, only the color of deep regret. However, Emily felt nothing anymore. Love, hatred, everything had become a thing of the past. In the evening, when the two returned to their apartment, they sat quietly on the living room sofa. Mom, what do you think will happen to us from now on? I don't know. But I'm not afraid. Because we have real family bonds. Emily looked at her son. Over these 3 months, Ethan had grown significantly. Overcoming difficulties had made him mentally stronger too. Blood connections are really important, aren't they? Ethan said thoughtfully. Mark was kind, but he wasn't real family. But you and I are a real family. That's right. We've been family since birth, and we'll always be family. No matter what happens, we'll protect each other. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. However, they were not tears of sadness, but tears of hope. Starting the following week, Emily was going to begin working at a new accounting firm. The salary was less than before, but she planned to live quietly with her son on money earned through honest work. Mom, when I become a high school student, I'll get a part-time job and help with household expenses. Thank you, Ethan. But your most important job is studying. For our future. Ethan smiled. I understand. But when you're in trouble, I'll definitely help. We're family. That night, Emily was able to sleep soundly for the first time in a long while. There was no cowering from Mark's shadow, no being misled by false love, true peace was there. On Monday morning, Ethan headed to his new school. Transferring schools had been difficult, but he was positively adapting to his new environment. He had made friends and joined the basketball team. Emily watched her son off and thought, a real family isn't about blood relations or legal relationships, but about the heart connections of loving and protecting each other unconditionally. Having experienced false family life with Mark, she could recognize anew the preciousness of the true bond with her son. At dusk, Emily and Ethan were walking hand in hand through their neighborhood. The sunset visible from their small apartment was just as beautiful as the one they had seen from their previous mansion. Mom, our new life is going to be wonderful. Yes, it certainly will be. We have love. Mother and son continued walking toward the sunset. The wounds of the past hadn't completely healed, but hope for the future was certainly there. As a real family, the bond between Emily and Ethan, who had begun walking their new life, would never be defeated by any difficulty.